Hey all, I'm back. Now, I'm picking up where I left off. Well, we already did the first part. And you know what? Let me just get over here and start with the next chapter here. So yesterday I started the next step in my cloud-based lab. I'm picking up where I left off and I'm making, well, I already made the compartment and I already made the virtual cloud network. Now today we're starting the first compute. And the way we're going to do that, well, I'll go over that as we progress here. Oh yeah, as I was saying, I was starting my very first compute instance. And for those of you that don't really know, a compute instance is a virtual machine. These instances can be workstations, a server, or just about anything you could think of, as long as you have uh, enough cores, RAM, and any other resources in order to make it happen. And from there, we can start the process the same way we did with the compartment and the VCN. Let me see if I can show. Let's see. Well, like I said, we started pretty much the same way. Uh, when you first go into your cloud dashboard, it's like you see your resources. Normally, it's like if you haven't done anything, this area will be blank. As you can see, I already have a virtual machine set up here. So this is pretty much a review, just documenting what I've already done. And well, just stick around for the ride and let's see how it goes. Uh, just update this here a little bit. Okay, as I basically just wrote everything down here just so that way I can have my thoughts straight. But uh, when you go to the instance section, actually in order to be able to get to your instances, you have to go to those three lines in the upper right corner, click on it, and then select compute. Once you click on compute, you're going to select instances, and it's going to bring you to this screen over here. And it breaks it down based on the name of your instance or the name of your virtual machine, your state, which is basically your status. Here it's running. You got your public and private IP addresses. Shape is technically the build. How many cores, how much RAM, how much storage is going to be under your block volume, and you're going to have an availability domain and a fault domain. And from there, you'll be able to go through it. Now, what else are we going to be doing here? Well, you got a couple of choices. The very first couple of times, well, the last two times that I tried, I failed. And I was using the setup wizard. You can actually access that through the actions. Just click on that. There's a drop down, and then you do the wizard. Once you've already created a virtual machine, your actions are going to be totally different. This time, I actually went through just creating an instance, and I did this completely raw. So what I mean by that is the forms came up and I just filled out the information. Let me see if I can show you that. Let's click here. So like I said, once you click on create your instance, you're going to get this. And you basically create the name of your instance, also the compartment that it's going to be in. You're going to select your availability zone. Understand the region I'm in is in the Ashburn area. Putting this out there, in one of the issues that I was having the first time I was trying to create an instance was that I wanted to use an Ampere build. That means an ARM processor. And I wanted to use about, what was it? About 5 or 10 gig of RAM, something like that. Well, anyway, there was an always free tier build already made for the Ampere, and I chose it. And it didn't matter which one of these it was. If you're in the Ashburn region and you want to use an Ampere processor virtual machine, primarily because you got more machines that you can use if you're going that route, and then if you're going to go with Intel or AMD. But in this region, I guess it's already used up. What I could do was something which was with an AMD processor, which is what I went with for my build. Now, if you are using the always free option, you gotta understand you can only create your instance within your initial availability zone. That's one of the reasons I was bringing up the difficulties I was having. If you actually are on the East Coast of the US, you're probably going to have a better option if you select an availability zone that's not in your region. Probably not even in the US. Mostly because this is a very populous area. And there's a lot of tech savvy people, and they probably all want the same thing at the same time. I'm lucky I actually have one virtual machine in this availability zone. Then I go for another. The next option, I'll probably create another account and I'll probably go with someplace like maybe out of Singapore or something like that. Don't know. I'll give it a shot. But all you really have to do is just once you actually assign everything that you need to name, container, availability zone, also your block volume for your boot disk, just click start to start provisioning, and then just wait a little bit and it'll start building it for you. And back on the instance screen, you'll get a new VM, and it'll show up over here. Once you click on the drop down and select start to actually start your machine, it'll overlay the initial this initial screen here, and then you click on start, and your machine goes live. If you've ever used VirtualBox, you understand what I'm talking about. It's kind of the same thing. I guess it's probably built along the same architecture. Once you have the instance running, the question comes up, what are you going to do with it? And that's where we're going to be going next. And that's why I'm going to click on here to refresh, and I'm going to show you the next part. If we were actually back on this screen, you're going to have navigation along the top over here. After you provision, the navigation right here is you're going to start off here under your basic details, but you have networking, you have well, to be honest, you got your security, you got your management. OS management is the important one. Once you get here, you scroll down. You got a couple of options. If you want to do a local setup, do an SSH directly into it. You're gonna get a couple of options here. You're gonna create local connection, and from there, you're gonna have to generate a key pair for your encryption, and you have to upload the public key. And then we let that magic happen. But if you don't want to wait, you can always click on Launch Cloud Shell, and you're gonna get this. And of course, it's gonna have your email address and your tenancy, and then it's gonna start everything up. And it's basically a bash shell, or I'm going with it's a bash shell because it seems to work that way. Could be Z shell, but I don't think so. It's pretty much a VM creating a Linux shell there for you to actually work with. And this is pretty much where we got to. I'll play around with it, but for here, I'm declaring victory. Who's the champion? We are. Why? We got this far. But like I said, we're still building out this lab. I'm probably going to try to make another machine. Simple setup, workstation, a server. Not sure what kind of server I'm going to do just yet, but we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll take all these web pages that I'm messing around with for my notes and just put them up there and make them publicly accessible for people to actually view. Or I'll be a very private bugger and lock everybody out, which means every hacker out there is probably going to try to break in. Could happen. I'm not going to be too arrogant to assume that it's not going to, that there's not someone there that won't try. But I love you all in some weird sense. But for now, I hope this has been useful, helpful for anybody that actually wants to actually play around with the free tier. Have a great day. great evening. Be well.